What's up everybody? My name's Oscar from Underdog. The year is 2023 and I thought it was time that we take a look together at my studio. Why have I never done a studio tour before? Well, let me tell you my embarrassing secrets. Until about a year and a half ago, I was in this space that was both my music studio, my YouTube studio, and my bedroom. Basically doing absolutely everything in my life in one room, which I can tell you right now, not so great for your mental health. Since then, I managed to start renting the room next door and I managed to turn this into a more professional space. So let me show you around what we're working with here. First off, let's talk about the room. The room is about the worst room you can imagine. It is 4 meters by 4 meters by 4 meters. That is a perfect cement cube, which if you ask any audio professional what is the worst possible room to work in, they'll probably say something like a cement cube. But in life, you just gotta work with what you've got, so you make it work and you hire someone like VDB Acoustics who put panels in here on all the walls and on the ceiling, which turn this alive space into a very, very dead space. So here's the clap test. That's 5, 6, 7 seconds of reverb tail. My studio is in Brussels, in Belgium.
Belgians, my God, we got it in for them! They made my blood boil!
Did you mention the Belgians?
Oh, I didn't mention... Go away!
Belgium, in case you haven't heard of it, is this little country that's sandwiched in between France, Germany, the Netherlands, and the UK. We're the capital of the EU and we like chocolates and waffles and Tomorrowland and I guess football. Anyway, if you are in Belgium, hit up VDB Acoustics if you need something like this done. On top of these panels, I put these little light strips by IKEA, and the room has a beautiful view of a brick wall. That is just typical Brussels. Nice. So very little direct sunlight, a little bit of a bunker aesthetic. It's not what I would have chosen. Anyway, let's talk about the desk. This is a standing desk. It can move up and down, but I've just left it in the same position. Also because it holds my monitors and I want them to be in the same position always. The monitors are Adam S3Vs. I upgraded them from my Adam A7Xs from before. I used to run the A7Xs with a subwoofer, but now the S3Vs are amazing. The mid drivers really give me so much more detail and nuance. I notice it especially in details like when I'm listening to different reverb algorithms, I can hear so much more details than I ever could before. So the heart and soul of the studio really is in this M1 MacBook, which honestly I'm super happy about because I can work in this great environment, then take out the laptop and go work wherever I want to work and have access to all the same stuff. I used to try to have like a laptop and a desktop computer and then synchronize stuff with Dropbox, and honestly, that was such a nightmare because there was always something unexpectedly not correctly uploaded or some conflict or some nonsense. Being able to sketch out an idea in Ableton on the road and then have access to it in my great listening environment later on, priceless. I've got a second monitor mounted to the wall, and literally this week I just got some rack space over here because I'm testing out my first proper hardware unit, which is the Culture Vulture. I want to really work on some gnarly techno stuff with that. Also on the desk is this monitor controller, this RME monitor controller, which brings me to the side rack where the sound card is. The side rack is just a place where I keep some rack gear, and specifically the RME Fireface is the sound card that I use. I'm very happy with this sound card and the software that comes with it. I have this kind of life where I have audio coming at me from all directions and I need to be able to route it and reroute it in all this kind of complicated ways, and this sound card makes that just super easy, so I'm really grateful. I've got a MIDI box for sending MIDI everywhere. I've got a power conditioner, the Furman power conditioner. I think I saw that in like an Andrew Wong studio tour thing, and honestly I think it's really important. The area of Brussels where I live in, every now and then the lights kind of flicker. I guess because the electricity that's being fed through the net sometimes is just a bit unstable, and I don't want that hitting all my electronics. So I've got this power conditioner, and one of the most satisfying things is coming into the studio, switching it on, and then everything just lights up at the same time. So satisfying. I've got a patch bay that I never use. It always ends up just being a little bit too complicated to use it. I just want everything plugged in all the time. I don't have that much stuff. I'll show you a shot of behind here. There's a lot of cable nonsense going in and out. But anyway, basically everything in here is sort of utility stuff. Those newer lights were the only ones that I had when I started my YouTube adventure, but now I've upgraded to things like Those are the aperture lights. Anyway, all right, cool. Let's talk synths. This is my synth rack, and it's only got stuff that I really need. So I've got a Yamaha MX88 on the bottom, which is just for sitting down and playing music, finding chord progressions, finding motifs, basically being a pianist. And everything is hooked up to the sound system, so in an ideal world, I should never have to do anything to make these things make sound. Friction is the absolute creativity killer. If you need to turn things on and plug things in and think things through before you can bring a creative idea into the world, often the creative idea has kind of passed and it's time to go empty the dishwasher and do real life stuff before you actually get any music made. So anyway, the Yamaha MX88, the Prophet Rev 2. There's a Moog. And so these are all permanently hooked up in terms of audio and in terms of MIDI. So the piano can send MIDI over there, but then Ableton can send MIDI to any of these as well. If I want to program a riff and just tweak the knobs, absolutely possible. I also got the Electron Analog Rhythm, which honestly sounded great at the time, but every time that I pick it up, I actually need to go look up the manual. So that's real friction, and friction is the mind killer. So I use it very infrequently, but in short bursts where I actually feel like I understand it, and then I forget about it for months, and then I pick it up again, etc., etc. Not ideal. It's super powerful when you know what you're doing, but to know what you're doing, you kind of need to use it every week or whatever, so that all the controls stay fresh. Let's move on to the modular. Pow! Here's my little modular synth, and it all began when I got a DFAM, a Moog DFAM. The Moog DFAM is semi-modular, and so immediately you think, okay, what if I just got like one modular unit to use with it, and then I just get a little rack, oh, and there's still some space in the rack, so maybe 2 modular units, maybe 3, or maybe I should get a bigger rack. Okay, and if I get a 4th one, then that can speak to all the other modular instruments. And before you know it, you've got this. This is a rack by Too Many Synths, which is integrated with the Arturia keystep. The Arturia keystep can send triggers out to everything. And then the audio of all of this goes out through a little Strymon unit on the bottom right, and it runs around all the way back into Ableton. Most recently, I've been exploring some units by Patching Panda, specifically the particles, the bass drum, and the hi-hats. Big thanks to Lewis of Patching Panda, who I met at Sonar this year. Shout out to you, Lewis. I haven't done much modular synth stuff on the channel because I find it quite hard to tell a story with modular synthesizers that isn't super specific. There are some channels out there who manage to do it, like for example Red Means Recording, super inspiring, really beautiful, detailed stuff, but maybe I don't know enough about it. But yeah, maybe it's something I'll explore more in the future. Leave a comment if you'd like that or not. I'll see what I get up to. Let's keep moving. And so here's a cute little desk with a Dyson fan, another plant, and more specifically some workspace for some experimental setups. And so the idea here is that I can speak into this microphone over here, hop, this mic, and that goes into these pedals, which have like harmonizers and delays and stuff in there, to search for some little bits that could serve well for some more conceptual weird music that I'm trying to do. I'm sure some of it will make it into a video, but first I gotta do some more research. And honestly, that's kind of all there is to it. Out in the hallway, there's a lot of like really unstructured garbage laying around that I just won't show you because it's too cluttered. And then in the living room, I've got a piano unconnected to anything just for playing while I'm having coffee or whatever. And then a DJ booth with all my vinyls and 2 CDJs for practicing and warming up if I'm going to do a set somewhere. And my old Adam A7X speakers serving me very well. Oh, and maybe still worth mentioning, I'm using a Sennheiser 416 microphone and Sony A7C cameras. I've got 2 of those. So if you have any more questions about the studio or any of the gear that I use, leave them in the comments below and I'll answer as many as I can. Go follow my courses on the website if you want to learn to make electronic music, or go follow one of my artist profiles, Torque, Face of Sun, or Underdog. Remember to like the video and subscribe to help me grow, and until next time, stay producing, be good to each other, and take care. Bye-bye.
By the way, be sure to like and subscribe. That really helps with the algorithm. The liking and the subscribing. Do it for the algorithm. For the algorithm. Or else the monsters, they know where you live, and they're gonna come and get you.